This is the Your Money Hour podcast. I am your host, Dakota Gritty. Hey, y'all, welcome to the show. No matter where you're listening, thank you for joining us today. Whether you're in California, New Zealand, Africa, no matter where you are, thank you for joining us. If you're struggling with the finances, I can help you. I know you want to go out of town, you want to travel, you want to create experiences with your family, your friends, but you can't seem to manage your finances, right? Well, let me help you. Go to DakotaGrady.com, click on the personal finance tab to get resources to help you with your money. Oh, and if you're an entrepreneur or a nurse practitioner entrepreneur, I got you covered. You need help with accounting and taxes? I know you want to do it yourself, but it's not that easy. Plus, you got patient to serve, so you don't got time for that, right? So contact me today at DakotaGrady.com to help you with your taxes and your bookkeeping. Let's go. So my guest today is Miss Janeisha Mays of Eudaimonia Wellness and Beauty in Dallas, Texas. So I wanted to have her on the show today and talk about her business. She also has a job. So she's going from having a business or actually working at the bedside to traditional, hopefully, in the future to her business. So Mr. Mays, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dakota. Thank you for having me. So glad to be here.
Yes, ma'am. So Ms. Mays, Janeisha, tell us about who you are and what you do.
So my name is Janeisha Mays. I am the owner, founder, and creative director of Eudaimonia Wellness and Beauty. We are a wellness spa located in Dallas, Texas, where we focus on disease prevention and health promotion. And we do this by focusing on IV hydration, vitamin injections, and medically managed weight loss. So we are the wellness spa go-to to help you with all things prevention of health.
So talk about how did you get from where you started. We talked about some of it on the IG Live. You started and you didn't start as a nurse. Talk about the journey from where you started from, starting before you went to school for nursing to where you are now.
So the goal was always to be a nurse. It's just the path to get there just didn't quite happen the way that I thought it was going to happen. So I actually got into nursing school the first time, but we had to have like 2 prerequisite classes, and you had to make a C or better. And one of my pharmacology class, I failed by 2 points. I begged that lady for those 2 points. I tried, but she was not having it. So I had to defer my nursing application because they would not accept me into the program because those classes were not of the standard to be able to start. So I took on a minor. And so I picked up a minor in psychology and applied for school for like wasted a lot of money. Now that I think about it, it was a waste of money. Okay. And so I picked up the minor while I was applying for nursing schools. And I did that for like a year. So it took me about a year to do my minor. And then I was getting rejected from schools. I was getting waitlisted. I probably applied for like 10 to 12 different nursing schools. And got rejected, denied, or waitlisted to all of them. And so I was at a crossroad like, well, I know that nursing is what I wanted to do, but maybe this is not for you. And so I withdrew from the school and transferred to another university. I went to University of North Texas and went into something that was still healthcare related, but for me to learn to kind of figure out what else I could do in health. Maybe you can't be in nursing. Maybe you could switch to maybe the corporate side of or admin or management or something in healthcare. So that's how I got the degree in health promotion, which focuses on a lot on corporate wellness and prevention of wellness and study of that. And so I never realized that that would be of use to me. I just knew it was something I needed to do to still be in the healthcare field without being a nurse. And so the semester before I was about to graduate, I said, I'm going to apply to nursing school one more time. And this time I'm going to apply to the school that I started at. And if I do not get in, then that means that being a nurse is just not in your path. So I applied back at University of Texas at Arlington and I got in. And so I went to nursing school. It's the worst thing ever. but the best thing. And so, yeah, here I am 7 years later, after all that adversity and trials and tribulations, we made it. And now I'd be like, all right, now it's time to go.
I want to speak to that persistence. Man, you gotta be persistent in business, right? So talk about how the persistence prepared you for becoming the owner of Eudaimonia.
Honestly, I didn't really align the two until probably recently, within the last, 2 or 3 months. Everyone talks about like, oh, you need a story and you got to share your story and how that means, and you got to connect with people. And I'm like, I don't have a story. Like, my life is pretty cush. I really have no adversities I had to overcome. And, I was just like, I ain't got none of that. But then when people were like, but you do have a story. And so I really had to sit down and be like, okay. And so that's where I was just like, oh, well, I guess you do have a story. And so I've always been a very, what's the better word to say? Very persistent person. If I say I'm going to do something, that's what I'm going to do. It don't matter what gets in my way. I'm going to see it to the end. Hell or high water, I'm coming for it. And so I think that having that mentality all my life growing up has allowed me to keep pushing when it comes to business, because I have definitely been like, I'm gonna throw in the towel. But I never said I'm gonna throw in the towel completely. I was just like, well, let me just throw in the towel on this thing and maybe let me still do this part, but not do this other part. But like I said, as an entrepreneur, as a Black woman and an entrepreneur and a nurse, this is not a space that is common that I see a lot. And it's not a space where I grew up saying that, oh, okay, see this person that looks like me. My grandmother was the only entrepreneur that I know in my family. And I really didn't know that that's what it was until years later down the line. My grandma's had a cleaning business since 1979, but it was always just, she always worked her business. She never worked on the business. And so seeing that was just like, I could see how that cycle can easily happen, because as a nurse, I work in a business. The healthcare industry is a business. And so being able to switch that mindset from employee to employer and then to entrepreneur is a difficult switch to make, because like I said, I still work bedside. And so it's literally having to say, okay, I'm an employee today, but I'm an employer when I walk out the door. And sometimes that is hard to do, because sometimes I work nights. So I may work all night, get off work and see clients that same morning when I get off. And so you literally have to switch back and forth to be like, okay, who am I today? So that's most of the time I don't know what day of the week it is. I don't know what day it is. I don't know who I am some days, but we here and we make it.
Wow, I mean, that's something that sometimes I guess you have to have that mindset of, all right, I gotta do this thing no matter how difficult it's going to get, and put myself out there, persist through it, even though I'm getting rejected. I gotta keep on going. If you hadn't have attempted that last time, what do you think you'd be, Janeisha?
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, truthfully, honestly, I would still be a nurse, because I've been wanting to be a nurse since I was like 7. And so it's something that I always knew that was the career path for me. I would have continued, even if I wouldn't have got in, even though I told myself I wouldn't apply it again, I would have. Just because if this is something that you've always wanted to do, then there's no reason for you to not do it. And so that's just my mindset when it comes to, if you say you're going to do something, do it. And don't half-ass do it. Just actually do it. Like, don't give it a little piece. Just do everything that you say you're going to do. So I would still be a nurse. I probably wouldn't be a nurse for 7 years. But I definitely still would be. Even if I wouldn't have got into that program, I would have applied to a different program and I would have got into somebody's program.
Talk about how important it is to separate working on your business and working in your business as two different things.
Ooh, baby, I'm still learning that. And so it's the thing that has helped me to really learn it is I had to hire somebody to help me work in my business. People tell you all the time, having a team is the really key success on growing and scaling a business. But I always felt that I can't afford that. And my business is at a place where how I'm gonna pay an employee to do something when I don't even bring a lot of revenue into my business. Like, it didn't make sense. And so I had to take that limiting belief away, because, and really had to separate like days. Again, having a coach or having coaches is the best way to really get to that mindset and get to that point. A good coach, let me say that. Having a good coach will get you to that point where you can say, okay, I understand that there are days where I need to work on admin stuff. I understand there are days that I need to be able to see clients. I was doing everything. As an entrepreneur, especially as a small business owner, you wear every single hat. I am the marketing team. I am the creative director. I am the content creator. I am the face of the business. I am also the service provider. Like, I am all those things. And you don't think about that until you like, okay, ain't no money coming in. So something's got to shift. And so when I hired a nurse at the time, I hired two. I hired two nurses at one time because I was needing to work in my business here in Dallas and also my partnership in Houston. And so it was very scary. And I didn't know what that looked like. I brought them on both as PRN employees. And then that allowed me to be able to not have to focus on the day-to-day of seeing clients, and made me shift to, okay, now I'm seeing the things that I need to work in on the back end to actually sustain the business. I absolutely would not have been able to make that mindset shift if I would not have hired a team. So I went from two nurses. I hired a virtual assistant. So now I feel like I have a team now. I can kind of take a back seat to the day-to-day of seeing clients so that I can focus on growing the business, getting more clientele, and expanding.
It's good. Actually, I hired VA recently as well to help me in the area of my business too, because you can only go so far as the entrepreneur slash technician slash manager.
You can't go
You run
too
on the
far.
gas, right?
Trust me, I get it. Something's gonna slack, and put in working as well. On top of that, you're gonna drop the ball somewhere, and it's gonna be on the back end of your business. That's what's gonna drop.
Right. And then you always, like me, I'm a dad. I'm a husband, a dad, entrepreneur. So throw all those things in the mix too, like trying to juggle all these balls and
Something gonna get lost.
like,
It's not a matter of if, it's when. Something is gonna fall.
right.
You can't juggle everything. You know, one ball gonna be dropped this week, and another ball gonna be dropped next week. But it's really just finding a balance. I don't have any children right now, so that's been okay. But I'm still a girlfriend. I'm still a friend. I'm still a sister. I'm still an aunt. I'm still a daughter. I'm still a granddaughter. Like, there's still so many other things that I am to other people. And family's a big part of my life. My family is a huge part of my free employees sometimes when I do events. And so, you really have to, what I've learned is some days you are not going to check every box. Some days you are not going to cross everything off the list. And that's okay. You just got to do as most as you can, as best as you can, when you can. I told people my schedule is all jacked up because I work nights. So my sleep schedule is already jacked up. And a lot of times I might get a good day for me is 5 hours sleep. That's a great day for me. And so, something you're going to sacrifice something. So you got to figure out what it is that you're willing to sacrifice. Sleep is a thing that I sacrifice. And so I feel like if I can sacrifice that on some days throughout the week, I can catch up on another time, or maybe get 7 or 8 hours when I can kind of take a back seat and kind of chill a little bit. So that's the sacrifice for me.
So switching to your business real quick, you had a partnership you mentioned earlier in Houston. We talked about this some on the IG Live. Talk about one lesson you learned to close out the podcast. Like, what did you learn from having a partnership?
To protect yourself at all costs. That was the biggest lesson I learned, because I knew my nursing judgment and my judgment as a person of people is very great. And so for me, when I realized that there were questions that were being asked of me, then I was just like, well, why is this? What does this have to do with what we're doing? And so I started being more mindful and being more watchful, to see like, oh, okay, how are you doing this? How is this working? You're going about it doing this way. And like I said, I don't think that there was any intentional ill will. I definitely don't think that, because at the end of the day, everybody has to do what works best for them when it comes to business. But I did realize that being able to protect your intellectual property is top priority when it comes to working with other people. And so having contracts in place, making sure you have an attorney, making sure that the contracts that are being signed and executed are fair for both people and that protect you and your assets and your business, because somebody can take your intellectual property and use it. And then now everything that y'all have discussed and talked about and things that you've wanted to do is gone out the window. And so having contracts, having an attorney is like the number one thing that you have to do. There are some things that I understand that I can kind of do without, but those two things I cannot. Mm-mm.
Wow. Yeah, I tell people like partnerships are messy because people are messy. So if you're gonna do a partnership, I recommend having an operating agreement to discuss things, and then like you said, have a contract in place. And go ahead.
No, I said absolutely. You have to make sure that things are executed properly, because like you said, people are messy. I don't feel like it ended on bad terms. We still can have common conversations, but I still watch, because at the end of the day, you slip one time. I mean, it's a business at the end of the day, and I don't want what I've put my blood, sweat, and tears into and I've worked hard for to just be ripped from under my feet just because I was careless, or I was reckless, or I was too trusting in people. And I ain't no fool. Okay. Now we can talk all day long, but trust go out the window when it comes to business. Like, we can trust on this contract. That's what we can trust on.
So Janeisha, thank you for your time. Before we close, how can people find out about you online, social media, website? How can they connect with you?
So I can be reached on majority of social media platforms, Facebook, IG, TikTok, eudemoniawellness.beauty. I can be reached by email at info@eudemoniawellnessandbeauty.com. I am always somewhere in the community. You can find me at, if you're in Dallas, I may be at your bedside. You never know where you can find me. But yeah, that's pretty much where you can find me and locate me at. Oh, I'm on Google.
Thank you for your time.
Google my
Oh, go
business
ahead.
too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I Google my business. We on there too.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time, Janeisha.
Thank you so much, Dakota, for having me. I enjoyed it.
Yes, ma'am. And this is the Your Money Hour podcast.